let's talk for a second about contrast and how important that is in order to make a mix sound great. What is contrast? Contrast is just dark to light. And in this case, in audio, it's narrow to wide. It could be. It could also be quiet to loud or silent to loud, the total opposite, right? So I use this all throughout my mixes all the time because I noticed it was always on my favorite mixes. You have to really be listening, but realize, think about the song, the Korn song comes to mind. I don't know why this song comes to mind, but when he's like, what happens right before the drop? Dead silence. Then the drummer hits the snare, and then everybody comes in hugely loud. Go! That go, the band is completely muted when he says go. You know what I'm saying? So because of the drop, because of everybody dropping out of the song, then when they come back, it feels huge. You have to use this all throughout your mix. You have to think about it like the guitars in the verses. Let's go one guitar, make it narrow, or two or whatever, but make it narrow. Down the center, slightly left, right, whatever. Make room for the vocal if you need. If it's instrumental, you don't have to do that. So depending on what you're doing, right? But ideally, keep it narrow. And you could also do this using high-pass filters. Eric Valentine does this all the time. He is high-passing on verses and then just removing the high-pass filters when the chorus drops in. This is critically important. I will always look at what's being played right before a drop and decide if I think stuff should come out. Because usually, if a band isn't thinking in terms of we need this song to sound amazing, they're all just thinking about their parts. And if they're all just thinking about their parts, they may just play their part right up until their part changes. It's very common with bands that aren't extremely professional. So the more professional, the more you'll notice people muting all over the place in the band because they realize the importance of mutes. So they will cut out before big moments. They will get out of each other's way, so to speak. So this is critically huge. A drummer's fill is never going to sound as good if the band is playing over it. So if there's a moment in the song that's building to a crescendo and the drummer's got a fill that he's going to play in that zone, everybody else should be muting when he's doing his fill, only when he's doing his fill. In other words, sound, everybody stops, and then everybody comes down on the one. That stuff makes songs jump out of the speakers. You got to realize that without the silence, there is no loud. There is no excitement without the lack of it prior. So you literally have to look at where you can put silence in. Do this constantly through your mix, where you can make things narrow and then what needs to be wide. All right? This is the same reason why volume automation is so important, because if you're even volume automating just the master track, like in other words, you're only volumating your mix. Let's say you're volume automating your mix bus. Your mix bus, I've talked about this before. I will often take the whole thing. I'll take before every, like in other words, I will have I have a mix bus and a stereo bus. I just call them that. You can call them aardvark bus and, walnut bus. It doesn't matter what you call them. But the first one gets all the plugins running through it, and then you can control your automation on that fader, that master fader right there, which then gets sent to another track and gets printed. So by doing it this way, you're really making it where the chorus not only will get bigger based on the dynamics that you've created within the mix, but also you're going to boost the volume slightly of the whole thing when that happens. And I'm talking 1 dB. Not a lot, but that little bit is felt. So verses, a little quieter, choruses, that 1 dB louder will make a huge difference. So I will take my master fader there, the master bus, because don't just do this on your master fader. That's just the volume for you. That's nothing to do with what's happening in the song. So if you're running everything to a mix bus and you're lowering that, like let me show you what I'm talking about, all right? Might as well. The end of my chain always looks like this. There's always, see how it says, these are inactive, don't worry about these. Down here, stereo bus and mix bus, these two. If you notice, right here, Like this track is what always grabs everything from my summing mixer. This grabs all the stuff coming back into Pro Tools. And then this final fader here, like this final bus I'm talking about that I have below it, is where I print from, which allows me to do things like take what's going on here and make the verse, what I mean by go through the whole thing. I mean, you go through, and if the song, let's say, ends here, like let's say you're fading out right there, right? So you're fading the song out. Now, I take the whole thing down a dB. That was 0.9. So like I'll take it down 0.9 or a dB. Then what I'm going to do is look at what is the chorus. So if this is the intro and the verse, I'll take this back up a dB. So in other words, I'm at 0 here, right here where I just raised it up a dB, 0.9. But here, I'm 1 dB almost below 0. This is huge. This is going to make it where it feels a little bigger right in the chorus. And I'm going to do that in the moments it needs it. Choruses, post-chorus, whatever. You figure it out for your song, but use stuff like this because without contrast, nothing is good. All right? I hope this made some sense. Keeping it a little short today. This is Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut. If you've got anything you need mixed and mastered, hit us up. Links in the description. We got private lessons. We do it all. Special offer on mixing and mastering right now. Talk to you guys soon. Take it easy.